Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Greetings, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to Bout 145 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I'm your host, Great Gabriel, great big gobs of greasy, grimy gopher guts, Rowald. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker, owner of Southsider Studios, and our usual host, Mike. Hey, everybody, we're going to get laid, Keeler.
It's easy to grin when your ship comes in and you've got the stock market beat, but the man worthwhile is the man who can smile when his shorts are too tight in the seat.
Second, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Ink Studios, Andrew, the price is wrong, bitch, Zoomwalt.
You can trouble me with a nice warm glass of shut the hell up. Now you will go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep. Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
Third, actor, writer, and director Kyle. Oh, rat farts. Fine.
It's really nice to be back on Cinesmack. I'll get back on track. We'll have a nice yak. Oh, I hurt my back. And my pussy and my crack.
We're already off track.
Oh, well done.
Come on, guys, bring it back.
Oh, nice.
I'll
Last
cut
but
you no
not
slack.
least,
There's no takebacks.
last but not least, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom. I eat little pieces of shit like you for breakfast, Haggis.
Thank you very little.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. In this episode, we take a swing at two classic comedies. Will we get a hole in one, or will we end up in the rough? Let's poke the monkey and reveal which films we've got teed up.
Ladies and gentlemen, long drive lovers and grass-hating gophers, welcome to the main event. Tonight, two funny flicks go stroke for stroke, trying to top the leaderboard. Will they score a hole in one, or come in last at the clubhouse? In the first quarter, from 1996, written by Tim Herlihy and Adam Sandler, directed by Dennis Dugan, starring Julie Bowen, Christopher McDonald, and Adam Sandler. Happy Gilmore! In the second quarter, from 1980, written by Brian Doyle Murray, Harold Ramis, and Douglas Kenny, directed by Harold Ramis, starring Bill Murray, Rodney Dangerfield, and Chevy Chase. Caddyshack!
All right, gentlemen. We've got two classic golf comedies on the tee tonight. And yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's start with writing. Kyle, now driving.
Ooh, two classic golf comedies. Let's be more specific in the future when we pick movies, please. Yeah, writing. Okay, so how do we want to start? One of these movies is, I think, a pretty poorly written mess of ideas they tried to jam together that didn't work out, and I think it shows on the screen, and we'll get to that later. And the other one of these movies is a superbly crafted, great narrative that you know exactly where the movie is going 10 minutes in. I literally paused it and looked at the screen, and I was like, it's 10 minutes in, I know exactly what's going to happen in this movie. And I got to be honest, I appreciated that. We've been talking a little bit off air about watching movies that are 3 hours long, and it was really nice of both these movies to clock in at a felt hour and a half, what comedies used to be back in my day. I sound like an old man. But yeah, so the writing in Happy Gilmore is, I think, obviously a lot of the jokes and things like that are maybe improvised or thought up on the spot or just gags that they came up with, although it doesn't have a super improvised feel. I do appreciate how, I don't want to say tight because it's not a genius script or anything like that, but it literally has one premise, and it's like, we're going to milk this premise for all the jokes we can get out of it, and within 15 minutes you're going to know exactly what's going on. There is no subtext, there is no subtlety, there is no nuance to it. It is hitting you over the head with a hammer, but it is concise, and you're never confused, and you can just shut your brain off and enjoy the comedy. There are a lot of parts of Caddyshack where I'm questioning, what's the reality of this world we're in? Do gophers really sing and dance like this? Can everybody hear Kenny Loggins? Why is this, happening the way it's happening? Because it's like they couldn't settle on what they wanted the world to feel like, and they really mashed up what I think they tried to sneak in: a love story and someone for you to root for, and a goofy character for everybody to relate with and think was funny. And it ended up not gelling very well together for me. There are so many plots and subplots in Caddyshack about condominiums being built, and a caddy scholarship, and a pregnant girlfriend who also cheated on her boyfriend, and a woman whose only characteristic is that she likes drugs and is a slut. Like, it's so strange and tropey and weird and messy, and I had a lot of problems watching it. And I think if most of the jokes or gags were in the script, then I'd say Caddyshack had a pretty unfunny script.
I mean, that was the screwball comedies of the 80s, wasn't it? I mean, they kind of picked up. I mean, Caddyshack was one of the first ones that really did this, but it was very common. I mean, how many movies can you name that are, at their foundation are class warfare movies? I mean, even we've got Goonies, and I'm not going to name any other ones, but Animal House. I mean, there's always been this. When we were growing up watching movies, it was this, like, class warfare was a great source of comedy, and Caddyshack was one of the first ones to do it. And frankly, country clubs are easy targets to make jokes like that, and we still have it today. I mean, that's one of. I mean, if you get stuff like Secession and Triangle of Sadness, the movie came out last year. It's, we love laughing at, getting the upper hand on rich people. So I'm less concerned about that than how you said, that Caddyshack usually just seems like just kind of like a string of funny scenes that's not really much tying it all together. So I will say, on the writing front, both of these movies are incredibly quotable. I mean, I don't think a week goes by that some line from one of these movies doesn't come up in my life somewhere. My kids love Happy Gilmore. So
Yeah, I had
they
a hard
use quotes
time.
from Happy Gilmore all the time.
Yeah, I had a hard time picking the quotes to use with
There are a
with the
lot of
introduction.
quotes.
So there's so many of them. It's like, oh, how do I narrow this down?
So
Yeah.
I have to agree that Caddyshack does feel like a mess, but since I am so used to it, growing up with it, it's to me it's still great. Like as a filmmaker, I'm watching it and I'm like, well, this doesn't link to this. This is pretty okay. And from what I understand, and Gabe, I am sorry, but from what I understand is a lot of those scenes were improvised, especially by Chevy Chase, Brian Doyle Murphy, and Bill Murray. And it drove Ted Knight crazy. So I can see where, and we have improvised before on films where, usually we're like, okay, just say this, say the line like this. The third take, you can do whatever you want. But it sounds like with Caddyshack, they were just like, just get this point across. And I can see where that can lead to an editing nightmare. But Happy Gilmore, you're right, Kyle. 10 minutes in, you're like, oh, he's going to win it all. Grandma's going to be fine. He's going to get a girl. And we're just along for the ride. We already know how it's going to end, but we want to be on the journey to the end. And that's why you were going. That's why you remained seated in the theater instead of getting up and walking away. Where Caddyshack, it starts out and you're like, well, I don't know where it's going to be, and it kind of throws you a few curveballs here and there. But I will say, Happy Gilmore probably has stronger writing.
I guess I can weigh in here. Yeah, I 100% agree with Kyle. I think Caddyshack is just a mess. It's kind of all over the place, and I understand that there is a time for some of the outrageous comedies and such, but if we're going to make those kind of comparisons, I'm going to pull out things like Airplane, where Airplane was a goofy, over-the-top comedy, but it was at least consistent with its A to B to C. Caddyshack was an A to an A1 to B over to A2 back to B3 over to B1. We're not sure where C is. It just felt just not well thought out. It felt like little tiny skits that they just tried to make cohesive. Yeah, I don't know. There were parts that I would say that I chuckle at, but nothing to where, with Happy Gilmore, I've watched that movie. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen that movie, and I still laugh at a lot of the parts. And I know some of the parts that are coming up that I know is going to make me laugh, even though I know they're coming up. And, quotable lines, I'll quote Happy Gilmore 10 times over before I would quote a Caddyshack line. But, this was like, I think the fourth or fifth time I've seen Caddyshack, to be honest. And I watched it because we were doing the podcast.
Really? That's interesting to me.
Yeah. I mean, with I love Harold Ramey and I love most of his directorial stuff. I like a lot of his writing, but this is, and maybe part of it is because of the improvisational, and it was just on a whim, and so that made it difficult. I don't know, because most of the Harold Ramey movies that I've seen, I enjoyed very much. I think he's a very talented director. I think he's a good actor, he's a good actor, but he's a good writer in that sense, and I enjoy all the actors. I love Rodney Dangerfield. I think he has some really funny movies. I don't know. It just.
Yeah, I think ad lib at that time was probably a lot more risky than it is now because they were shooting on film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like now you can ad lib all you want and it doesn't really cost you anything but a little bit of extra time.
Right. Well, overtime. If you're on a set,
well,
and you're,
I guess.
No.
If you do that much ad libbing, yeah.
We don't care about the child labor laws anymore. It's fine.
Yeah, I just think that was a lot more risky back then, and it's interesting that they took that risk. To me, with a low budgeter like Caddyshack, with kind of an unproven crew and cast at the time.
Well, and that's why.
But I mean,
go ahead, Tom.
I was to say, I mean, we're kind of getting to acting, but that's the chemistry that those actors had together. Chevy Chase had proven himself, and Bill Murray had kind of proven himself. I mean, they knew that to get gold out of these guys, you can't rein them in. So now I'm talking about directing. But I think
all goes together.
Yeah, and I don't know how much I can dock Caddyshack for being what it was supposed to be in 1980.
That's true.
It was what it was supposed to be, and it'd be hard to be like, kind of to dunk on Caddyshack for these reasons and then be fine with Blazing Saddles for doing kind of the same thing. Caddyshack is, I mean, it is what it is, and I don't think it aged well. But I hadn't seen this movie in 25 years. I saw it and I liked it and I like quoting it, but I hadn't seen it in a really long time because I didn't really feel compelled to do it. Mostly because if I wanted to watch a golf movie, I watched Happy Gilmore. But I think, I was expecting it to be incredibly dated and very offensive, and I only found it mildly so on both counts.
Yeah,
because of the boobs.
The boobs out of nowhere, but you know what? That's such an 80s thing. Like,
yes.
It
just like shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah, the chick in the pool just all of a sudden, she's topless for whatever reason.
Yeah, it doesn't matter in these
that's
movies.
An 80s movie. Yeah,
absolutely. It just shows up.
No, and that's that 80s screwball thing.
Right, but that kind of stuff.
Just show up in a movie.
That kind of stuff to me is, I mean, I mean, at least, you bring up Blazing Saddles. Blazing Saddles at least is a cohesive story.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Caddyshack is just a bunch of random stories that try to be cohesive.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, though.
Yeah, it was much more common than it is now. Like now you see a movie like the only time you see movies like that are just a collection of jokes are either like parody films or if you've ever seen anything like Movie 34 or something like, or Movie 43 or whatever it's called, they tried to do that again and it was awful. But a couple things that got brought up I thought were really interesting. What Tom said about the class warfare idea, totally get that. And yes, it is a trope, especially of 80s and early 90s movies. But it's kind of difficult for me to buy into this movie because almost everybody in the cast is rich. Chevy Chase is a rich guy. Rodney Dangerfield's a rich guy. Ted Knight's a rich guy. There's like one good one weird one, and one asshole, and they're all kind of weird. But that was interesting. And also, the least interesting person was the hero of the movie who we're supposed to root for. And I feel like some of the characterizations they gave him, like, hey, you're a kid with a temper who is fast-tracking his way to lung cancer because you never stop smoking cigarettes. Or you're a girl who just wants to take acid and have sex with everyone despite being rich. Hey, you're a really stupid rich kid. Or you're a Catholic Irish girl. Like, it's just like, Jesus, like there's nothing to any of the characters. And it really is hard to feel anything for them when that happens. It's just a bunch of people doing stand-up or something. Like, it's just weird.
I have an argument about the fact that Danny Noonan is not the lead character of Caddyshack.
Okay. It's the gopher.
No, it's not the gopher. It's Judge Smales. Like, he's...
I can see that.
Yeah.
His whole world is being turned upside down, and he's just trying to keep his his home away from home together, and he gets this caddy that is just using him to get some money for college. He's got this guy that comes in and totally throws his entire world upside down and sinks his boat. And he gets roped in to try and prove that things should just be the way it is, and to get this problem member or almost member out of the country club. Like, I think Judge Smales is actually the main character of Caddyshack.
Totally.
Well, that's
possible.
fine because when I was
I see that.
I put the fight post together this afternoon. I'm looking for that one character that kind of encompasses the entire like who's the lead guy. And for Happy Gilmore, it's easy, but for Caddyshack, I kind of went round and round. First of all, because there's no good photos because it's an old movie, but
Right.
I wound up just putting the gopher on there because I'm like, I don't know who the hell else to put on the goddamn poster.
Yeah. And Mike, in the next round, you might be able to argue that the same thing as far as the actors are concerned. The actor who played Judge Smales was just trying to protect his world from all of these crazy people around him.
Yeah.
So you might be able to make that argument in the next round, too.
I don't know if it was improv or in the script, but I do got to give props for coming up with the name Mitch Cumstein. I think I laughed hardest the entire movie. I think I laughed hardest at Mitch Cumstein. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I'm excited to talk about Chevy in the next round.
Okay. Anything else to add, gentlemen?
I got nothing for writing. I'm spent.
Oh, all right. So let's get to some voting. Kyle.
Oh, give me the nice, tight, Happy Gilmore.
All right. Mike.
For me, this comes down to quotability, and I quote both these movies a lot. But
they are very quotable.
They are very quotable, but I kind of got turned onto the side of Happy Gilmore thanks to Kyle's well-placed argument. So I'm going with Happy Gilmore.
Right on.
Okay. Oh, yes. Nice swing. Tom.
Give me some Happy.
And Andrew?
I'm imagining that I'm in my happy place. Happy Gilmore.
Okay, Andrew. Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
The origin of Happy Gilmore can be traced back to Sandler's childhood friend Kyle McDonough, who was a pro hockey player in Norway. After showing off his golf drive one day, Sandler's father remarked that McDonough was able to hit the ball so far because he had hockey wrists. Mm-hmm. So not only is Adam Sandler, enjoying his best life, he's basing it on he's basing his fictional life on his real life. And then Caddyshack writer-director Harold Ramis looked to his youth for inspiration. He once worked as a caddy, as did many of the other actors. All right, gentlemen. Let's move on to the next round. Acting. Mike is now driving.
All right, let's start with Happy Gilmore. This is peak popularity for Adam Sandler as far as his time on SNL. And jumping into film was pretty smart. This doesn't deal with directing, but if I could have a life like Adam Sandler does, where he just calls up all of his friends, says, hey, we're going to make this movie together, and go make a movie, that would be awesome, and get paid to do it. That's even better. So acting wise, Adam Sandler is doing Adam Sandler, right? And he is having a blast doing it. Christopher McDonald as Shooter McGavin, I really like him as an actor. He is a great character actor. And I think he does a really good job at being the asshole. And if I remember correctly, I believe Bruce Campbell actually tried to get that part, but Christopher McDonald beat him out for it. Carl Weathers is great showing up as Chubbs. Like watching him recently in this, and before that, watching him in Mandalorian, I'm like, oh my God, it's Chubbs. And then you go back to Predator and you go to Rockies, and it's just great seeing him in this comedic role. And he is so good. And one of my favorite scenes is when Happy goes back to him and he's naming off everything that Chubbs is better at. Like, you're better looking than I am, and I am an ugly person. And he goes, all right, so long as you got that, so long as you understand all that, or whatever he says. Just the way he delivers that is perfect. It's great seeing Bob Barker in the film kicking Happy's ass. And I know it's a cameo, and I know the whole reason he's there is to make you laugh that, Happy is getting beat up by Bob Barker. But, it's to go back to Adam Sandler as Happy. You're not really seeing him progress much from being a skit player on SNL. Like, the whole movie, he is playing a skit. He is playing this character. And there's no... How do I say this? Because I don't want it to sound mean, but no real acting chops. Like, he is just out there having a blast, right? And getting paid to do it. On the other hand, with Caddyshack, I can't even say that about Chevy Chase. I think Chevy Chase was just there to make a movie and get paid. He has some very funny lines, and the way his physical comedy in the scenes sells it for me. Just the little things that he does always sells me on Chevy Chase. Where Adam Sandler is the usually the loud guy, right? And yells something at someone. That's what makes you laugh. With Chevy, for me, his mannerisms, his little things that he does with his body when he's talking, or not even when he's talking, is what sells Chevy Chase for me. Like Andrew said, I love Rodney Dangerfield. I just grew up watching Rodney Dangerfield on late night and in the movies that he did do. I really like him. And I truly believe that's just Rodney Dangerfield. Like, what we saw is Rodney Dangerfield. There's no difference. Just like we just saw just Adam Sandler having a blast, we just saw Rodney Dangerfield having a blast. Bill Murray, what can you say? He's great at making these weird and off characters, and he does a really good job with Carl. And I think I would have rather have just watched a whole movie about Carl and just knowing about him. It almost, I mean, you could almost say it was Joe Dirt. They made it. It was called Joe Dirt. But by far, my favorite actor in Caddyshack is Ted Knight. I believe, when Harold Ramis was like, hey, I want to make this movie. I'm going to bring Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, and we've got a lot of these unknowns that are coming in. And the studio was like, well, we need some bigger names to sell the film. They bring in Rodney Dangerfield and they bring in Ted Knight to anchor it, right? Like, the Rodney Dangerfield name's going to draw people in, along with Chevy and Bill Murray, but you're going to get some of that older crowd with Rodney. But Ted Knight is the straight man, and he plays it very well. And his expressions are priceless. Just, well, we're waiting. Just how he says stuff, and just his presence on set kills me. But yeah, I've rambled on enough. Oh, yeah, just real quick, Michael O'Keefe is Danny Noonan. I agree with Kyle. I was not interested in that character. He is just something for us to view to go on to the next part of the film.
I had a problem with how he stood. Like he always is standing straight up and down
Yeah.
with his hands to his side, like he's about ready to conduct the symphony orchestra.
Right.
Like it's so weird. And maybe this is part in trivia, so I don't want to take this away, but it felt like Bill Murray's character was Harold being, hey, we have this goofy groundskeeper that you're going to do this, this, and this, and your goal is to get rid of the gophers and be all crazy and stuff. Invent that character.
Yeah.
It felt like Bill Murray devised that character, built the background in his head, and created that person.
Right.
It really felt like that. And that's not a ding or a negativity. That's just it felt very Bill Murray and a character that is just right alongside him. And I don't know if somebody could have written that down in a script and then said, okay, Bill, this is your character, go. Like, yeah. To your point, Mike, with Adam Sandler being Adam Sandler, there's a lot of actors that are good for certain things. Daniel Day-Lewis, he's an amazing character actor. He can take on and imitate famous people, other actors. He's really good at it, and sometimes on set takes it a little too far. Tom Hanks can slip into a role and make you believe that you're watching a different character that isn't Tom Hanks, even though it is Tom Hanks. There are just some actors that have that ability. Then there's other actors that the best time that you enjoy watching them is when they are them. And that personality, and yes, they're playing this fictional character, but there's a lot of them in it. And it's just them being them, and it's so natural and so easy because it's just them. And I can make the comparison with Adam Sandler very easily when he is playing, in Blended or 50 First Dates or Just Go With It. Those kind of roles where he's just Adam Sandler. He's, Murder Mystery just came out, and then Murder Mystery 2 recently. And it's just Adam Sandler. There's nothing, he's not playing a character. It's pretty obvious. And then you look at the movies where he does play a character. And a lot of those are some of the worst movies that he's done. And I don't mean that in the sense of but there are some bad Adam Sandler
Hustle
movies.
and Uncut Gems. Are you kidding me?
No, no, I'm not referring to those. I'm referring to what was where he plays his own twin sister.
Oh, okay.
Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill. So
let's not dwell too long on that one.
Well, but there are movies like that where he tries too hard instead of just being Adam Sandler. And then he pulls out Uncut Gems and shows that he still actually can act.
Yes.
He's not just a dude.
Yes.
He'd rather make 50 First Dates because he can be goofy and fun and just have a blast with his friends. And then he can turn around and be like, you know what? I can still act and I'm damn good at it. And then every once in a while he makes a movie that you're just like, why? So,
but he hasn't. To be honest, he hasn't made one of those movies in quite a while.
He
did the Hubie He did Hubie Halloween, but he really seems like he's learned that there are two movies with friends, and then movies to show everybody that I can act. But he doesn't give a shit either way. He's gonna like Mike said, he might be the smartest guy in Hollywood.
Yes,
he might have it all figured out.
Yes. And by him making his own production company allows him to basically do what we would all dream to do. And that's be like, hey guys, what are you doing this weekend? Cause I'm going to pay you $50,000 to go to Fiji with me. And we're going to make a movie. You guys in? Who's going to say no to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I just want to touch real quick on Ted Knight. He is absolutely the glue that holds this movie together. Holds Caddyshack together. If he wasn't in there, the movie would be even more of a mess. I feel like this is maybe some of Bill Murray's worst acting. I really don't like this Carl character. He's not. Here's my issue. In Happy Gilmore, love it or hate it, however you feel about it, everybody is pulling in the same comedic direction, right? They're all on board making the same movie. In Caddyshack, everybody's doing their own shtick, and it becomes noise. It's just like noise, and it's watching people do small stand-up skits. And the only one who I think really pulls it off well is Rodney Dangerfield, because that is his thing. Chevy Chase is good in front of a camera with his slight movements and facial expressions. The scene where they put him together with Bill Murray, I can't decide whether that scene's funny or cringy, because I could not understand if I like that or not, because they looked really awkward, like they didn't have much chemistry going on. But Ted Knight is the glue holding this movie together. And Danny Noonan, or whatever his name is, being so plain and vanilla probably helps slightly, because everybody else is so wacky.
Yeah.
I think I kind of felt like Chevy Chase was actually even a little restrained in Caddyshack. Seeing what he went on to later on, that it kind of like this was. I felt like this was perfect Chevy Chase. It was just cocky enough, and he was able to do some of his funny stuff. His scenes with Lacey, before, like when they're at the piano when she comes over to his house, that whole section, there's a ton of chemistry between the two of them, and I loved it. I have absolutely no idea why she sleeps with Danny and then sleeps with Ty. I actually had to go back and make sure it was the same character, because I was like, it was so weird. I was like, is there another girl in this movie?
With everybody.
Yeah, and I don't if she wants to be promiscuous, good for her. I mean, if it was a guy, nobody would say anything. But I was just like, I didn't understand there was no motivation for it. So it was just I couldn't get over how young Brian Doyle Murray was.
Holy shit! He looks like a totally different person.
And he was so fucking skinny too.
He was.
He was just like a string bean.
It's cocaine. It's just cocaine.
Even Rodney Dangerfield looks pretty thin in this movie compared to.
Yes, jeez Louise, he looks tiny.
And I think, and with Happy Gilmore, I don't know that we've done a movie where, I mean, they're not even secondary characters, but the tertiary characters, the third level down characters that have 2 or 3 lines are so great in Happy Gilmore. And they just, they get the most out of their 20 seconds on screen. Flaherty, what's his name?
Joe Flaherty.
Joe Flaherty.
Joe Flaherty. He's on a little bit more, but he's pretty great. I mean, Bob Barker's on there.
Richard Kiel.
What was I thinking about? Richard
Jaws.
Kiel. Kevin Nealon.
Yeah.
What do I know? I'm just a doctor.
Yeah.
and talking
all
about
of the little characters are so great in Happy Gilmore, and they're so funny, and then of course Ben Stiller is. I mean, he went on to so many bigger and better things, and but he has 5 real quotable lines. You will go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep. That's mentioned often in our house.
But speaking of doctors, Dr. Beeper is just in Caddyshack. Oh, it's okay. It's probably a routine emergency.
Routine emergency. Yeah. I love the hockey coaches at the beginning of Happy Gilmore. They're really funny. God damn, is that Happy Gilmore again? And they just help set the whole thing up. And then, of course, Julie Bowen's adorable. But Carl Weathers. I mean, has anybody had a cooler career than that guy? I mean,
right.
Mandalorian, Arrested Development, Rocky.
Predator.
It's nuts. It's nuts when you go back and look at everything that he did. And he's doing. I mean, he's not done.
Right.
And good for him taking that Mandalorian role and just absolutely just blowing it up. So,
is that goal regulation size or what? God,
what?
Oh my God.
And I think Adam Sandler, he is probably the smartest guy in Hollywood, because he doesn't make anything he doesn't want to, and he can turn on the talent when he needs it.
Yes, he can.
So
he is the Weird Al of movies. Weird Al.
No, I think he's so much more respected than that. I really do. I think people are coming around on him. He's not.
I think Weird Al is very highly respected.
But Weird Al doesn't. But Weird Al doesn't have an Uncut Gems, and Weird Al doesn't have a Hustle and Spanglish. I mean,
he does write his own original music though, and it is very good. It's all goofy, regardless.
Right.
And he does write parodies, but he is a brilliant man, and he chooses to write parodies because it's fun. That's what he wants to do. That is my comparison. I apologize, but
no, I get what you're saying. Mitch Cumstein gets a laugh every time. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Who is also you didn't mention who's besides Richard Keel, the really big guy. I can never remember his name. The midget that rides the tricycle.
Yeah,
I don't
he is
think he's
very
anyone
familiar.
famous, is he?
He's very familiar, though.
That's yeah.
Oh boy.
I thought Caddyshack would be the one that didn't age well, but that doesn't age very well either.
Well,
but it's a happy place. It's his imaginary
it's
place.
his imaginary happy place. It's okay.
Why is that part of your happy place? What about that makes you happy?
I think it's interesting that Happy prefers white lingerie to black lingerie.
Philip
That's interesting.
Beer. I think you're thinking of Philip Beer, Andrew. Is that right? He played Cowboy Joe.
Yes.
Yep. Philip Beer.
He has a name?
Yes.
Cowboy Joe?
Yes.
Yeah, Cowboy Joe.
Who knew? All right, gentlemen. Anything else on acting?
I'm good. I got all my shit in.
Damn.
Robert Smigel plays the IRS agent
Yeah,
in Happy Gilmore.
Oh, that's right. Oh my
Yeah.
God, he's one of the great minds at Saturday Night Live.
Smeagol. I'm gonna be Smeagol.
And fun fact, I've worked with him.
Different movie.
Really?
You have. Oh, is this a little Mike trivia?
Yes, Mike Trivia. There
Yeah.
you go. Mike Trivia.
Yeah.
Well,
I
Gabe's
worked.
not going to do it.
We need one of those every round. Okay, gentlemen, we need to take a vote on acting. Let's go with Mike.
Oh, boy. Ted Knight sells it for me. I'm going to go Caddyshack.
Okay. And Tom?
I'm going to go Caddyshack because I don't think without the great performances, we wouldn't be talking about this movie today. I think it's too easy to imagine it just being, hey, remember Caddyshack? Wasn't there a movie called Caddyshack? It's too easy to do that. And I think it's the acting that makes Caddyshack watchable. That's my bar, watchable. I can fucking believe that.
And Andrew?
I am voting for the guy who took his skate off and tried to stab somebody.
Okay.
Happy Gilmore.
All right. And Kyle?
Yeah, as much as I like Ted Knight and have grown to like a lot of the actors that are in Caddyshack, I gotta give it to Happy Gilmore. Just for Christopher McDonald. He's awesome.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Reportedly, Kevin Costner turned down the role of Shooter McGavin. Could you imagine Kevin Costner as Shooter McGavin?
No.
Yeah.
Would that be good or not? I don't
That
know.
would not be good.
Yeah, I
don't
think so. What?
No.
Coincidentally, Kevin Costner went on to star in Tin Cup,
Yes.
Yeah,
which was released later the same year.
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a little different. It's a whole different.
I don't know. So after watching,
type of comedy altogether.
but after
Bill
watching
Murray,
Yellowstone, I'm like, he could.
go ahead.
I would say after watching Yellowstone, I think Kevin Costner could totally do it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He could play
Maybe.
Pete Tankers.
Maybe. Yeah. Bill Murray was originally supposed to have no speaking parts. Harold Ramis later changed that and even asked Bill Murray to ad-lib some of his scenes, which
That
we
would be
talked about
even
before.
Or weird.
Yeah, like if he didn't say a word.
That would
Like-
be so bizarre.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm personally not sure it's Bill Murray's best ad-libbing. He was maybe kind of still working on it a little bit. And again, we talked about it before. Go ahead.
He's creepy.
He is creepy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He is
But-
creepy.
yeah.
He
You're
really
like,
is.
But not in a
it's
funny
cringy.
way at times. He's
It's not
creepy
funny.
in a like a disturbing way sometimes.
I mean,
Yeah.
he definitely came a long way when he started ad-libbing like in Ghostbusters. Like, he nailed that.
I mean, he grew as an actor and got better. You know,
Yeah.
he went on like Sandler and did other roles and stuff.
Yeah.
Sandler's an enigma. I think he's got the greatest career trajectory you could ever hope for. But every once in a while, he does a really good movie, and you're like, why? Why do you make such shit sometimes?
Agreed. And that's why he got the Mark Twain Award.
All right, real quick question. Before it's all over, will Adam Sandler win an Oscar?
I could see him winning one for like writing or adapting a screenplay.
No, also acting. Do you think Adam Sandler will win an acting Oscar before this is all over?
Maybe a pity one.
Yeah, not a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Pity one? Mm.
Yeah, like he'll get like recognized.
Like Sean Connery for Untouchables.
I mean, he was amazing in Uncut Gems, but I don't think the Academy would ever nominate him. I really don't.
Say never.
I don't know. He was borderline for Hustle last year. If it had been released later in the year, and I think every time he does one of those, he gets taken a little bit more seriously.
Yep.
Maybe so.
Punch Drunk Love. He should have been nominated. Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, Punch Drunk Love. I'd agree. 100%.
Gabe, you didn't have the trivia, but as far as acting, and everyone brought up how weird it was with Chevy Chase and Bill Murray together. I think part of that has to come with the fact that they hated each other.
They hated each other, yes. Yeah, that's something I came across. And apparently Harold Ramis got them together and discussed doing a scene together, and they kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of like buried the hatchet and decided to work that scene together. But Tom mentioned earlier that it seemed awkward.
Yes.
Like they just didn't really work well together. And I don't know what the source of that is, but they really, I probably to this day do not really like each other very much.
They're actually friends, and they go golfing. I listened to a podcast about it. But the reason that Bill Murray actually punched Chevy in the dressing room of SNL when he came back to guest host. And
when who came back to guest host?
Chevy Chase.
When Chevy did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was because of something Jim Belushi had told Bill Murray that he just had made up just for fun, and it got out of control. And I can't remember all the details, but there's actually a clip of Chevy Chase talking about this. And he said, he goes, well, now, they asked him, I think it was on the Howard Stern show, they asked him, how are you guys now? And he goes, we're fine. We've talked to each other. We go play golf. And so apparently it's all under the rug, but there was a very big issue between the two of them. And also Bill Murray has said that, it's because he got so cocky because he became a big star and kind of shit all over everyone at SNL. So anyway, that's moving on.
Yeah, who knows what the source of that animosity was? But yeah, apparently they did not get along.
John, did I say John Belushi? John Belushi. Just to make sure, because I always say Jim when I mean John.
Right. Let's move on to the next round. That sounded mildly dirty.
Mildly.
Mildly. Directing. Tom is now driving.
So I want to talk a little bit about some of the special effects that these two movies incorporated into their movie. It's not used a lot, but the gopher digging special effect that they use in Caddyshack is impressive. I don't really know how they did it, but it's pretty cool how they they're able to have the gopher going through and like pulling up the grass. And I'm sure it's probably something very simple, but I thought that was pretty impressive. And likewise in Happy Gilmore, before drones were a thing, I thought the way they solved the showing how far Happy can hit the ball and using the point of view shot of the golf ball repeatedly was a really great touch. That it adds a little bit of magic to what Happy can do, but it also kind of gives it some it's very it's almost believable because it's not like a CGI golf ball that they used. And so those are two little special effect things I really like. Special effects in all of the movies. Let's see. There are problems with Caddyshack. I feel the ADR, and I know it's not an Oscar movie, but the ADR in Caddyshack's really bad. They came back and had to re-loop some dialogue into the movie, and it's not done very well. It's not seamless at all. It just, I don't know. I didn't like it at all, and it's a problem that a lot of movies in the late 70s and early 80s had. And I don't really know why, but it's just that period. It seems like when they were doing, voice looping after the fact in post-production, they kind of settled for good enough, and it really stands out to me. I really dislike the synchronized swimming scene in Caddyshack. I have absolutely no idea what the fuck is happening in that scene. Like, seriously, I don't know. It's like absolute chaos, and then suddenly the caddies like dip into an art form of some kind or an Olympic event, and I don't know. I've never liked the synchronized swimming scene in that at all. I do like the little nods to The Shining and Jaws in Caddyshack, which I'm sure at the time were just massively huge movies, and everybody talked about them and knew them, with the dookie in the pool. And then when Ted Knight smashes the bedroom door open with the golf club, and there's a shining shot, which I thought was a really nice touch. But then the ball, like they hit a golf ball, and it like the crow's beak pierces the golf ball, and I know it's not like a realistic movie, but like I was just like, what the fuck happened there? Like, I don't know. It was a weird choice. It seems so incredibly unnecessary.
It's good luck in Haiti.
Yeah, I mean, did they just need to do that so that Chevy could set up for his joke? On Happy Gilmore, I think I like the choice. No, I love the choice of putting Chubbs in an Izod sweater the whole time.
Yes.
I like it. I mean, it's so subtle, and it makes me laugh that there's a costumer out there, that there are costumers out there that get the comedy of the movies they're doing, and it's not blatant and it's subtle, and like that Chubbs would choose to wear Izod sweaters. I'm like, what's going on there? What else was I going to say? And I feel like the ending of Happy Gilmore is a little weird and far-fetched, that shooter has to shoot the ball off the guy's foot, and they do such a good job of basing Happy Gilmore in like the golf world and like sticking with tournaments and prize money and all this, and then they get to the end, and the two shots to end the movie would not ever happen ever in golf, let alone like a golf tournament. Like you do get a drop if it lands on someone's foot, and you do get to clear the trash off the green if it happens like that. And so that's what always bothered me about Happy Gilmore. So I'm not going to indicate which way I'm voting at all at this point. So
yeah, but you would never get to see the most amazing T-shirt on a giant man that says "Guns don't kill people, I kill people," with a nail sticking out of his head.
How do you? And you know that the person that found that shirt is the same person that said, "Ooh, and we'll put Chubbs in an Izod sweater."
Yep.
Yeah, let's talk about directing, I guess. Happy Gilmore is...
Kyle's so into this.
I am. I love it. I'm just into it. No, I'm trying to take it seriously. It's it's like a movie about it's Adam Sandler being a fucking goof. But I'm trying to think like, yeah, the movie is competently directed for a comedy. It's like got everything you want. Doesn't do anything super cool. The POV shots of the ball, yeah, that was much harder to do back then. I thought they shot the golf stuff pretty well, and it looks like they actually had to do a lot of that stuff either legit or with some assistance, but it wasn't overly obvious if they were cheating it. I'm sure they had to take those shots a bunch. I thought the performances they got out of all the actors were pretty spot on. Julie Bowen was a little stiff, but she was also kind of supposed to be that way, and she was pretty young in her career. and smoking hot despite the haircut. The granny is doing the same thing she's done in every movie she's ever been in. Ben Stiller's great in the movie. That's such a memorable character. And Adam Sandler is like this lovable goof. That's what he made all his money doing in the 90s, was acting that way, either screaming or being a man-child. Those are his two traits. But Happy Gilmore kept it together and moving. And like I said earlier, you knew what the conceit of the movie was. So they're like, okay, so now you don't have to follow any complicated bullshit. Just turn your brain off and watch this lughead get good at golf. And I appreciate that. If your movie is going to be a full-blown comedy like that, like, don't give me 100 plots and a bunch of characters I don't know or who aren't fleshed out or anything. Just give me little vignettes and tropes and make things nice and easy for me to follow. Caddyshack, I think, directorially is an absolute mess. It is so uneven in tone and comedy. The characters just straight up the actors give bad performances, like, and they're just okay with it, like, and there's a real lack of commitment to whatever reality this world is supposed to exist in that nobody figured out and made happen. And a lot of the stuff that is either clearly ad-libbed or they just tell the actors have fun goes on way too long and doesn't land. It's not tight. It's like real kind of sloppy and just poorly edited as well. And I've watched that movie a few times in my life, and I thought maybe it was okay. Maybe this is just a thing that this is not my generation. You know, I'm a little too young for Caddyshack to have really landed with me. But I watched it with my mom, and my mom was like, "That is the dumbest movie. It's not funny." It was she was bored, and I mean, she really likes stupid things. She likes Mike, but
it's true. She loves me.
But yeah, I don't know. I felt like it was an absolute mess, and sometimes I really do wonder. In the 80s, was there just so much cocaine going on that everybody's like, yeah, this is great, this is fine, just yeah, we're fine, everybody's fine, and then people looking at it and going, yeah, it's fine, it's a great idea, yeah, put it out.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, directing wise, and I'm probably going to, I don't want to tread into possible trivia, but this was Harold Ramis's first movie he directed, and I think it shows. And from what I understand, the movie they shot for an extremely long time, and there was trouble in production, and it shows. And I'm not defending that at all, because if you look at Harold Ramis as you go through his filmography, you know, you got National Lampoon's Vacation, then Club Paradise, Groundhog Day, Stuart Saves His Family, Multiplicity, then like Analyze This, Bedazzled, Analyze That, and there are hit or misses, but I mean, even Groundhog Day, you know, he has learned how to direct by then. And I really think his choice to say, okay, let's improvise a lot of this, let's just have fun. And, you know, our defense so far has been cocaine. Well, that might be part of the problem too. Where if you go over to Dennis Dugan, he did a lot of TV, and then, he did Problem Child, which was one of my favorite movies growing up. I love that. Brain Donors. Let's see. Then you go a lot of TV, like he did some Columbo, L.A. Law, Shaggy Dog, then Happy Gilmore, then Beverly Hills Ninja, Big Daddy, Saving Silverman, National Security, and goes and does TV, and then Bench Warmers, and You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Grown Ups, Just Go With It, Jack and Jill, Grown Ups 2. So he's kind of Adam Sandler's guy, you know, when he's like, hey, I'm going to get the boys together. We've got a budget of this many millions of dollars. You want to direct? Yeah, sure. But I think this shows, I think when you compare for directing wise, I think this shows that he is much more seasoned, and I think he's much more experienced when it comes to directing a film, where we're comparing his fifth feature film that he directed, where we're comparing it to Harold Ramis's first, and that can kind of be uneven when you think about the amount of hours that are spent between that, and then if you compare it with Harold Ramis's, fourth movie, Groundhog Day, if you wanted to do that, that's going to take it up a notch. But I think Caddyshack falls apart, like we've talked about, with the consistency. And Dennis Dugan does a really good job at keeping everything on track.
Yeah, and that is his job in this goofy movie, right?
Yes.
Is let's keep it contained. Don't let it spiral. Don't let it become a mess. Don't let actors take over the process.
And I think that's what Harold Ramis learned the hard way.
Yes,
right?
Very much so. Because like you said, the movie I think you spoke about that sticks out the most to me is Groundhog Day. I think Groundhog Day is a wonderfully directed movie, right? And that shows a real evolution in his ability to make the movies.
Yes.
But yeah, this you can see a lot of first time problems going on.
And then you look at Dennis Dugan doing Jack and Jill, and you're like, okay, what happened there?
he's just doing Adam Sandler movies.
Right.
I was gonna say, was that because Adam asked him?
Right.
The thing is like once Adam Sandler likes you, like you have a paycheck for the next 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
He's just going to keep bringing you back and doing the same things with you.
Because, I mean, Grown Ups was basically, hey, guys, we're going to go just goof around for, 3 months while we shoot a movie.
and honestly, Jack and Jill could have suffered because Just Go With It, he directed both those, and they both were released in 2011. And then, someone's retort to that would be like, well, Spielberg directed Jurassic Park and Schindler's List, back to back. Yeah. So, you got that, but just
Go With It is a much better movie than Jack and Jill.
Right.
There are levels to this game. And Spielberg is sitting much higher than most of the guys Adam Sandler gets to direct his movies. No offense. I think if they were being honest, they'd tell you the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. It's interesting because I think movies, I think a great example is Airplane. Airplane is an insane movie that is held together and doesn't become a mess.
The Zucker brothers are really good at that, though.
Yes, absolutely. But it's a skill. It is a skill to keep it together and not let it spiral. Another movie we mentioned too that we always lament about never being able to be made again, Blazing Saddles. A lot of Mel Brooks movies are
crazy,
insane. They're nutty, right? But he holds them together. There's enough.
And
there's
I think
enough going on.
This is totally going off topic, but just to add on to that, Kyle, History of the World Part 1 is, I love that film. And watching History of the World Part 2, I mean, it shows Mel Brooks can control that. Where History of the World Part 2, he's not directing any of that. And it feels not Mel Brooks. Like it feels someone attempting to do Mel Brooks. And there are some really funny parts of it. But for me, it's like, yeah, okay, I watched it. Yeah, there are some good parts. Yeah, there are some okay parts, but most of it is just kind of eh.
I mean, and even think of, like, what is it? Women from the Moon. Is that right? Amazon Women from the Moon?
Amazon Women on the Moon.
On the Moon.
Amazon Women on the Moon.
And Kentucky Fried Movie. There are other movies where they are random short skits all kind of plunged together with a director that kept it cohesive and still put together.
Right.
So I would have to say I agree with Kyle in saying that it's a skill.
Yes, it is.
I don't, and I'm not saying that I'm a a top-notch director in any level to these guys, but I don't know if I could do quite this zany of a movie and be able to keep it grounded.
Oh, I know I wouldn't be. I know I would be on set.
How could you get on set with these? How could you get on set with these guys? And they're like, I got a really funny idea. I got a great idea.
Right.
And you say, no, that doesn't help the movie. It's not moving the plot along.
Right.
It doesn't match up with anything else. I think that that's a pit that a lot of people fall into, especially early directors. They want to be friends with these guys. Mm-hmm. They want to make a career. They're in awe of some of these people. They come and do the work, and then it just really suffers. I mean, it suffers because you can't keep it reined in.
Or we were all in SNL together. We're just having a good time. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen. Any other thoughts on these movies, on directing?
Tom, did you get to talk at all?
It's my category.
Okay.
He started.
All right.
He started.
Yeah, I talked for 5 straight minutes, so then I just shut the hell up and let you guys talk for a little bit. I got my list. See, you did it. I talked about everything.
All right.
Thank you. That was nice. No one's ever done that to me before.
Let's do a little voting. Let's go with Tom.
Oh, I'm not ready for this. Just kidding.
Oh, you can do it.
No, I'm gonna have to give it to Caddyshack, actually.
Really?
All right.
Yeah, I'm
surprised.
No, yeah, I'm gonna give it to Caddyshack because Happy Gilmore. You're right, Happy Gilmore.
And
I was
I gotta change my score sheet.
Oh my god, buy an eraser.
Wait,
digital
eraser with pencil?
All right, Andrew.
Oh yeah, Happy Gilmore.
All right, Kyle.
Yeah, it's Happy Gilmore.
And Mike.
I gotta go with Happy.
All right. So, Happy Gilmore director Dennis Dugan also played Doug Thompson, the tour president, in Happy Gilmore.
Shit!
Yeah,
I did not.
Are you mocking me, or are you?
No,
really
honest
surprised?
to God, I did not know that was the dude.
Yeah, he was the tour president who didn't want Happy on the tour.
No clue.
Tried to get him kicked off. Yeah, so that's the director of the movie. About his movies, he said, audiences that go to my movies don't want a message. They don't want my soul exposed or my life view. They just want to laugh. I don't know. Do you think he's lived up to that?
I think he has.
Absolutely.
We did with Happy Gilmore for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mike kind of stomped on my trivia.
I apologize.
For the directing, but I have another one. Longtime comic Rodney Dangerfield wasn't really used to being on a movie set at that time. Harold Ramis would call out action to no avail, as Dangerfield didn't respond. This happened a few times until finally Ramis told Dangerfield, "Do your bit." And apparently after that, he wouldn't say action. He would just say to Rodney Dangerfield, "Do your bit."
That's awesome.
And he would go.
That's awesome.
What was your? I didn't know you were going to do anything when he called action. I didn't know.
Yeah.
No respect. What was your other trivia that I stomped all over?
Oh, that it was the directorial debut for Harold Ramis, but he would go on to direct other comedy classics like National Lampoon's Vacation.
Okay, sorry.
Groundhog Day and Multiplicity.
Sorry.
I remember get better over time, basically.
I remember reading or hearing that I can't remember the actual amount of months, but it was like 6 months they spent shooting Caddyshack.
Seems like a lot for that kind of movie,
right? And once again,
like if you're doing if you're doing some sort of a Lord of the Rings trilogy or something, maybe it makes sense, but.
Well, and I would say that Harold Ramis, going on to a lot of his writing credits, writing so many of our beloved movies.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Great
he
comedy.
not necessarily directed, he just wrote them.
Right.
So,
just real quick, one of the original assembled edits for Caddyshack was 4.5 hours.
oh my god!
Yeah. I want to watch it.
Bill Murray's ball mashing speech scene lasted about 30 minutes.
Oh my god!
Really? Where he's like hitting all the flowers? He's like
Yes.
oh man.
Can somebody convert it to 3D? Because I want to see it in 3D.
Dude. No, thank you.
James Cameron can do that for you.
Oh my god! 4 hours?
No way.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That just tells you how much footage they shot and didn't know what to do with. And once again, that comes back to first-time directors. Right?
You're just letting everybody
And letting
bits.
He
letting
didn't know what to
actors
do with
ad
the
lib.
footage he had.
You're just letting guys do bits, and they're just eating through film.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yikes, dude.
Yeah.
The canister guy's like, fuck, man, can we just end this scene already? I've replaced this thing 3 times. Jesus. He's
Right.
sweating.
And I don't know if it was
air
the
holding
same.
the boxes. He's like, damn.
I think they had about 10 minutes per canister, didn't they? I don't know. Maybe that changed over time. But I remember that from like movies that Alfred Hitchcock did, like that were meant to look like a single take, and they knew they had about 10 minutes per reel, basically.
It got longer.
It may have, over time. I don't know, but yeah.
I'm
Even
sure the
so.
boxes didn't get any lighter.
It's film. Expensive. And you got to get it. They probably did dailies on it. So you do some low quality, like, anyway. Expensive. Really expensive.
Sounds really
Okay, gentlemen, let's get into the final round. Overall, Andrew is now driving.
I won't forget this time. We have talked a lot about these movies. We get into this a lot with movies that are very conversational like this. So overall, we end up just repeating and repeating and repeating. But a couple of things that we haven't touched on. We talked about music. A lot of times in overall, there's a lot of great hits in Happy Gilmore. And there's a lot of really great hits in Caddyshack as well that they play. So, music-wise, and none of them are like, composed. A lot of them are, bands and music that was popular, but they're still completely popular today. And I would say the soundtrack out of Caddyshack more than I enjoyed the movie. And, Happy Gilmore has a great soundtrack as well with a lot of the 70s and 80s rock bands songs in there. We also talk about rewatchability. As I had mentioned before, this is, I think, like the 5th time I've seen Caddyshack, and it was because I needed to watch it for this. And I emphasize needed to watch it for this. I've just never really gotten on it. I know the parts. I know some of the bits. There's the shot of him doing the "we're waiting" that is a meme on the internet that half the world probably doesn't even know comes from Caddyshack. So Happy Gilmore, man, it was almost a staple when it came out in college, and we used to watch it, with a VCR, and we had it on repeat, basically. Like, it was stupid how much we watched Happy Gilmore. It was just so fantastic, and it was goofy and fun. And I don't know, maybe that plays a part in the enjoyability and likeness, maybe. I would also say that, both movies have quotable lines. Hands down, I will quote Happy Gilmore, 10 times a week easily. I say to people all the time, the whole line of, what do I know? I'm just a doctor. I say it all the time at work. I say it to coworkers. and I even went to one of the Wild games, the hockey Wild games, and not a large crowd, and it was kind of dull, and I'm like, take your skate off and stab him, and like it echoed, and most people heard it, and it was very funny. But there's just lines like that, like all the time, that you say that, the pieces of shit for breakfast, and okay, it's time to turn the hearing aids up. We just extended arts and crafts by 4 hours. But my fingers hurt. Well, now your back's going to hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. Anybody else's fingers hurt? That's what I thought. So there's just so many of these moments in these scenes that are just so iconic that always make me laugh. And like I said, I can repeat over and over. One thing, I hope I'm not stealing your trivia. One thing I've always found absolutely hilarious is that Bob Barker did a lot of the fighting. He did not roll down the hill, is what I've been told or read, but he did the stunt fighting himself. He actually studied under or with the same martial arts with like Jackie Chan's cousin or something, and like he knew how to fight. And actually was not originally going to accept the role until he found out that he beat up Happy Gilmore and wins the fight. And then he's like, okay, I'll be in it.
Yeah, because they originally wanted someone else.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who it was.
That's hilarious that Bob Barker's like, well, if I can beat the shit out of him and win, and by the way, I'm going to do my own fighting, I'll be in the movie. That's absolutely fantastic. That to me is, I don't know. There's just so many little clips about
it. That's totally a memorable scene, too.
Yes!
I mean, you love the idea of Bob Barker kicking his ass.
Yeah, and I mean, people say that all the time. I mean, there are, the Price is Wrong bitch is a huge, my God. So, anyways, like I said, I don't want to overly rehash. Those are some of the things that I know that we didn't touch on, so. Go.
Of soundtracks. What is up with Happy Gilmore's soundtrack having like all this expensive licensed movie music for a comedy? It's really strange. And then the interstitial stuff is like nonsensical, just like kind of dumb, like stock music. It's really funny.
Does he know the leaders of the band because they were on SNL at one time and he made friends with them?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, right?
Right. It wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was really weird. The editing in Happy Gilmore gets a little dicey in places, but I think it looks pretty good overall and is better than the way it's put together in Caddyshack. And it's just, Caddyshack just feels like a mess. And that's just really unfortunate because I like a lot of the actors in it. I just don't like them in this movie. And that always kind of sucks to watch a movie where you're like, hey, I like all these guys, but I don't like them doing this. It just feels like kind of a waste. You're like, oh, I'd rather watch them do something better. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Caddyshack is not good, and it's not very funny in my opinion. But there are far more offensive, worse movies. And there aren't many golf comedies. So if golf comedy is your thing, I think you got maybe 2.5 choices if you count Tin Cup. So slim pickings. But Happy Gilmore, yeah, like you said, Andrew, I forgot how much I've watched Happy Gilmore until I started watching it and realized, like, I know every beat of this movie. I know most of the lines. I know what's going to happen. And I was like, oh, yeah, I've probably watched this movie 25, 30 times. Because I remember having it on DVD when, I got when DVD players weren't all that popular. First movie I ever bought was Varsity Blues. Still amazing. First DVD player, $300. Got hot like an oven. Giant black brick. It was great. Wow. I love it. Made so much goddamn noise. I was like, this is fucking great. This movie's look great.
Mine
what kind of TV did you watch on?
I watched it on a Sony Vaio, one of those 300-pound tube TVs.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, boy.
So it wasn't even really an HD TV yet.
No, it was just like really good standard def, I guess. I thought it looked amazing.
It
when
did
you
look
go back
amazing.
now, you go
I had
back
one of
now
those
and
too.
You watch standard definition television, and you're like, how in life did we watch
Enjoy
this
this
entertainment?
at
How
all.
do we watch this entertainment?
Yeah.
Mine didn't have a tray. It was just one of those little. It would suck it in, and on top
Oh.
of it was a laser disc reader. So you had the big slot and the small slot. And you
Oh,
could just
very
slide-
nice.
Laser
Yeah.
disc.
Problem with
Double.
those
Wow.
is if one breaks, then you've got two useless pieces of technology.
Yeah.
See, mine was this big like 20-pound Panasonic black monstrosity, and it had this tiny dainty tray that would slide out.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I'm gonna break this off one day. And I would go to bed with the movies, like put it on repeat.
Mhm.
So I'd be listening to South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut, or Varsity Blues, or Happy Gilmore, or whatever on repeat all night while I was sleeping. So yeah, that's probably why I am the way I am.
It's bad when you have
Explains a couple
a Pioneer DVD Laserdisc player with wood trim on it, and you have to use Pledge to clean it.
Yeah, you don't want to get dirty. Come on.
But don't get the pledge on the disc itself.
No,
Oh,
no,
God,
no,
no.
no, just the
then,
wood.
then you're in
just the
trouble.
So, sorry, I haven't
Okay, wait,
yet
go
an
back.
overall yet. So I'm pulling you guys
gonna
back.
bring it back.
Sorry.
He's going to bring it back in. Please
I'm
do,
going to bring
Tom.
it back in. So, so I produce sports videos now, and we do like our company does like 17 different sports, and Happy Gilmore has so ingrained itself in our culture is that we actually have baseball coaches. That there's a very popular drill with hitters called the Happy Gilmore drill, and so the coaches will come out and be like, "All right, now it's time to do Happy Gilmores," and I don't even you don't need to. I have to tell you, it's a hitting drill, and it's called Happy Gilmore's, and you know what the drill is, right? I mean, you take like 3 steps up and you hit the ball. I mean, it's, you know.
I thought it was
and
maybe
it's-
to throw the ball unprotected at them.
No, it's see now you get like you undercut it. So, but anyway, I think it's interesting that it's crossed over into other sports. Even that Happy Gilmore is this kind of alternative way to hit the ball. Happy Gilmore. And I don't know about Mike and Kyle and Gabe, but Happy Gilmore versus Caddyshack, I think, has kind of been on our radar, under our radar for the last maybe 10, 11 years of us doing this.
It has.
And if we had done, I really believe if we had done this back at the beginning of our podcast, 11 years ago, I think Caddyshack would have won pretty handedly because in my mind, it was. There's no way Happy Gilmore is at the level of Caddyshack. Caddyshack is a classic. Caddyshack is the Casablanca of screwball sports comedies from the 80s. It's interesting to me that now that it's 2023 and we've been doing this so long, that Caddyshack has aged a bit, and Happy Gilmore has really become, Gabe, like you said at the top of the show, a classic. And I don't know. I have a feeling that, that Caddyshack's blowout 10 years ago is not going to turn out that way tonight. So, I don't know. I just think it's interesting how our perceptions and how we view movies changes over time. How Caddyshack has become less popular and Happy Gilmore more so. That Happy Gilmore is really the Caddyshack of a new generation. Whereas Jaws is Jaws for everybody. Everybody loves Jaws. It's timeless. Everybody thinks it's great, and it's younger kids love it as much. But for Gen Xers and millennials, we have our own Caddyshack. So I just think that's interesting, and I don't have high expectations for Caddyshack now.
But growing up, I would say I watched Airplane growing up in my teens and in college, and I found that movie is hilarious. And I don't think even if I would have watched Caddyshack in my teens, I didn't watch it until college. But in my teens, I'm not sure that I would have found it on the same humor as Airplane, or I would have found it to be a classic in that sense. Like I don't know.
I mean, possibly. I mean, if you had talked to guys that are older than us, guys who are in their 50s and 60s, and told them that you're putting Caddyshack and Happy Gilmore against each other, there'd be like absolutely no way. There's no way Happy Gilmore is as good as Caddyshack.
I agree with that statement.
It's very generational, and I've got there are older producers in our office that just like, no way, Caddyshack is way better than Happy Gilmore, and then the younger guys in our office are going, you're out of your mind. Caddyshack has aged badly, and Happy Gilmore is amazing. And so I don't know. I think it's very it's very generational. I'm curious, what will the next generation what will be their golf comedy?
Right.
It'll probably be Happy Gilmore.
Just real quick, originally Ed McMahon was asked to be in Happy Gilmore instead of Bob Barker, and when he turned it down, they asked Bob Barker. Also, when I was reading through just some of the trivia, because I love doing the trivia for this show because I just love learning the history of the film. Originally, Harold Ramis wanted Pink Floyd to write the music for Caddyshack. And he tried and tried to get a hold of him.
That is a mismatch if I ever heard of one.
They brought in Kenny Loggins because they couldn't get a hold of anyone in Pink Floyd. And I think that's hilarious because, number one, Pink Floyd is my favorite band. And number two, we wouldn't have gotten the great Kenny Loggins song that my son loves to dance to, and I actually showed him the gopher, so he does the gopher dance.
Oh yeah,
but we going back to the generational thing. I grew up watching Caddyshack on TV, like even when they aired it on network TV and cut out a lot of the stuff. Like I just remember sitting there watching it with my dad, and he really shaped my taste in films. Blazing Saddles is still one of my favorite all-time movies simply because of those memories, and it's where I've gotten my humor from watching them. But watching it through the lens of a filmmaker, I agree totally that it's a mess, but I quote it so often, and I know the movie forwards and backwards, and it is a part of me that, and I agree. I think 10 years ago I agree with Tom. I think it would have beaten Happy Gilmore, but it is totally flipped. The quote that I use the most is whenever someone's on set and they ask me to hand them something, I just yell out, "You'll get nothing and like it." Like I love Ted Knight once again. Happy Gilmore, of course, came out in '96. Like I was just graduating high school when that movie came out, and I didn't have the dorm room college watching it all the time. Like it was on a lot, like on HBO and stuff like that. When I was at friends' houses, we would watch it, of course. But Caddyshack, to me, I know it's not a better film, but it's more nostalgic for me. And so that's where I have to figure out exactly what I want, how I want to vote on this, because Happy Gilmore's great. Like I was down here trying to stay quiet while watching it because I was laughing, and Caddyshack I watched and I knew all the lines, and still there are parts of that movie, and it's the little things that get me now with Caddyshack, like the just these little one-liners or the reaction of someone that gets me now. It could be because I know the film so well. And I think it comes down to rewatchability. I'll always watch Caddyshack if it's on. Now, am I going to go downstairs, grab, I think I have a DVD copy of it. Am I going to put it in DVD player and watch it? No. Am I going to do the same with Happy Gilmore? Probably not. But I would watch both of them if they were on TV. If I was flipping through and just saw it, yep, I'm going to watch this.
So there is one thing that we didn't talk about in overall that I really, and I know we're over time, but I really wanted to point out that it felt there are scenes in Happy Gilmore, now watching Caddyshack and Happy Gilmore, and in a sense back to back, that felt like they were parodying some of those scenes. So, like the scene where blah, 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 where Chevy Chase is talking to Danny Nguyen, and he's just rambling on, and you're like, what the hell? It's the same scene in Happy Gilmore when he's like, it goes up and down, and it's circular round. It's, that whole thing, there's parallels there.
Yep.
In fact, if you notice, the Happy Madison logo is the golf ball coming out the screen and breaking the screen, and it cracks. And Caddyshack at the very beginning, it's the golf ball that says Caddyshack and freezes and then continues on. So there are maybe nods to Caddyshack in Happy Gilmore.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's why I say that I don't think it's, garbage. I think it has added something to our culture and to film. It just was an okay movie.
Yeah,
I've never liked the marketing that they put on Happy Gilmore with like angry Adam Sandler with the weird haircut. Like, I don't know. I've never liked any of the graphics they've come up with for Happy Gilmore, and it's just like, it doesn't seem reflective of the fun the movie is.
Right.
It makes him look like an asshole.
Well, it looks like a 90s, there's the quintessential 90s posters, right? Like if you compare 90s posters, they're a lot alike. And I mean, that's with every age of film. But I think that has to deal with what they called attitude in the 90s, right? Everything had to have an attitude in the 90s. And that's what they were reflecting, was an angry player, where it's like, well, yeah, he's angry, but there's more to it.
I just think it's interesting that Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison is what the two movies that he used to name his company.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I just always thought I thought that was interesting, watching these two movies back to back, because you don't realize those kind of things unless you do that. And in this case, it stuck out to me. So.
Okay, gentlemen. Anything else to add in overall?
I believe we have beaten both of these dead horses.
Okay. Well, let's get to voting then. Let's start with Andrew.
Gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a shit? Happy Gilmore.
All right. Kyle.
Yeah, it's Happy Gilmore.
Okay, Mike.
Man. Do I go with my heart or my head?
That's what she said?
Wow. I'm going to go with Caddyshack.
Okay. And Tom.
Happy Gilmore.
Okay, so a little trivia, overall trivia for these two. Though Happy Gilmore's signature run and strike swing technique is rumored to be unachievable, a bunch of pros tried it out at the European Tour in 2013. Most were unsuccessful, but one golfer, Padraig Harrington, managed to drive the ball 328 yards using the old Happy style. So maybe if you practiced enough, maybe you could have a good drive.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
What is that, far?
That's pretty far, I think. I don't know if it's like a huge swing, but it's pretty good for that kind of technique, I think. The part where Bill Murray blows up the golf course with dynamite, they actually brought in tons of dirt and built up a hill on the 18th hole because the golf club where they were filming didn't want the actual course getting blown up.
Well,
the pyrotechnic crews, really surprised. The pyrotechnic crews then ended up using too many explosives and totally decimated the makeshift hill. The explosions were so big, in fact, that planes flying by reported it to the local authorities. So they could see it from the air, apparently. Maybe not from space, but from up in the air. So
that's great. And by the way, I looked up.
Movie
it
magic.
Was 11 weeks on Caddyshack.
11 weeks
I was
filming?
a little over on my 6 months, but 11 weeks.
Probably felt like 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh, they had a blast,
True. It's probably true. They're just all goofing around.
Yeah, I have no doubt they had fun shooting the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, while the accounting monkeys are adding up the final score here, let's do a few recommendations. Kyle.
Oh, you want me to start? Okay, cool. I am going to recommend a movie. Sometimes I'm hit or miss on whether or not they tie into these movies, but I recommend a movie I just saw because it is, like Happy Gilmore, a bit of silly fun that you know what's going to happen pretty quick into the movie, and you just got to turn your brain off and enjoy it. And that is the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, Honor Among Thieves. So it is a bit of dumb fun. It is a lot of fan service to those of us who've played Dungeons and Dragons for a long time, and has some of those funny moments where someone in your party makes a mistake that has everybody laughing. There are parts of the movie are kind of built around that. And it's an inoffensive popcorn movie. It is just a bit of good fun. So I recommend you check it out, especially if you've played the game.
Kyle, if you haven't played the game, would you still enjoy it?
No, you'll hate it.
Okay. All right.
No,
That's
yes.
not true.
Yes. You'll still enjoy
God,
it. Yes. I think you will.
Oh my God.
Okay. Good recommendation. Mike.
Oh, I'm going to go with a Harold Ramis movie. I was looking through both of our directors' films that they've done, and I really love this movie. It makes me laugh every time I see it. It is called Multiplicity, and I love the gags that they do in this film, especially it's quoted around our house. We've talked about quoting movies all night. Did you bring me a monkey, Steve? I love that line. But
I got a wallet. I got a wallet, Steve.
But it stars Michael Keaton, Andy McDowell, and Zach Dume. Yeah, we'll go with that. But to tie it all together, it actually also has Brian Doyle Murray in it and Julie Brown, who was in Happy Gilmore.
Julie Bowen.
So
Very nice.
So you know how
Bowen?
when you
Yeah.
Yeah, Bowen. What'd I say?
Yeah.
Brown. Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't send
Sorry,
out
Julie. I know
I
she's a
didn't send out the
long-time
pronunciation
listener.
guide.
And so, yeah, we want to make sure that she's happy.
Yes.
you know
She's right here. She's right here. She's cool with it.
Okay. Tell Miss Brown. I'm sorry.
I was wondering who was sitting on your lap there, Tom.
They're cool
You know-
too. Julie's cool.
You know how when you make a copy of a copy and it doesn't come out quite so good? Yeah, that's 3.
Yeah.
She touched my peppy, Steve.
Yeah.
Do you know rule number 1? Well, we kind of bent it now. We darn near broke that off.
Sounds like we got another good quotable movie.
Yes.
I love
Good.
Multiplicity.
That's good.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so much fun. Okay, Tom.
Yes, my turn. Awesome. Well, Kyle took mine, so I'm improvising.
You seemed happy at first.
When I went and shook my fist at the screen, that's my anger.
Yeah,
That's-
but then,
that's
then
not
you
happy,
seemed,
Gabe.
Then you seemed disappointed. I thought you were happy because you liked the movie and you thought it was a good suggestion. But
I loved it. It's a great suggestion. I love Dungeons and Dragons, and I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, and I thought it was a blast. I had so much fun with it, and I thought it was great. But I will recommend just going back to Oscars, and I think people should check out. I wanted to see Air. I didn't get to see it, and I was hoping to, but I didn't get to it. Go tomorrow night. But I'm going to recommend Banshees of Inisherin. Did I recommend that last month?
I
No,
have
you did not.
idea.
I don't think so.
Okay.
You recommended the
Awesome.
New Yorker website.
That's right. Oh my god.
Kyle keeps track
Anyway,
of this. He has a thing.
Thank you so much. That's good to know. I'd recommend. So everybody check out Banshees of Inisherin. Colin Farrell is absolutely hilarious. It's a really funny movie, and it's got some kind of some deep storylines about conflicts between people and where they come from, and how sometimes they just never get resolved. Right, Mike? You fucker. So,
What am I doing?
What?
I just have.
it was a joke. It was because in Banshees, Brendan Gleeson just suddenly stops being friends with Colin Farrell.
Oh,
and so
gotcha.
I was trying that. I'm incapable of doing that because I love you all. So check out Banshees of Inisherin.
Yes.
It looks like a very funny movie. I've wanted to see it.
It is.
Do you feel
it is really funny?
Do you feel like the title of the film might actually hinder it a little bit? Because to me the title is really strange, and it's the kind of thing that doesn't like draw me in to want to go see it. I mean, I know about it now, and so I'm more inclined. But the title is not something that would draw me in.
I mean, maybe, but I think when you're talking about the director Martin McDonagh and Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, I mean they will get you in the theater. If you've seen In Bruges,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the same three of them, and it's this I really like 5 times better than In Bruges. I really loved it. Probably my favorite movie last year. After it might be my favorite movie last year. So.
Cool. Okay, Andrew.
I was originally going to recommend a Adam Sandler movie,
Dungeons and Dragons.
There's just so many of them. Yeah,
And then Banshees,
Dungeons and
and
Dragons. No. But I thought I would do a very recent comedy that is similar to where it's just kind of this goofy. You kind of know where this is going. It's a fun popcorn movie just to sit through. It is bizarre. I laughed out loud. It is the most crazy thing ever. It's actually directed by Elizabeth Banks. It is based slightly on a true story, and that's Cocaine Bear. And I know people that are like, wait, what? And it's fantastic. It was so much fun. It was like getting on a roller coaster and then going through it and just being like, that was awesome. I had a blast, and that's all that it is. It's not going to win any awards or anything like that, but man, is it fun. It is. There is a couple of scenes that I laughed super out loud on, and it's pretty great. So there you go. Cocaine Bear.
When I found out it was directed by Elizabeth Banks, I was kind of like, what? Really?
Yeah.
I was kind of confused that she directed it, and I haven't seen it yet, but it seems like something that would be kind of fun to watch.
Considering she's coming off of Pitch Perfect 2, and Pitch Perfect 3 directing.
Right. It seems out of character a little bit.
It is a pretty goofy movie though. It is just the premise, but like the way that the story is told and the way that it goes is very much just, it's a comedy train ride that you just go up and down all over the place, and then you're just like, this is pretty funny. So
cool. Sounds fun. Okay, well, my recommendation this month is a movie that was made by Netflix called A Futile and Stupid Gesture. And it stars Will Forte as the co-founder of National Lampoon, Douglas Kenney. It also stars Domhnall Gleeson, another Gleeson, that we mentioned from Banshees of Inisherin, Martin Mull, Joel McHale, Emmy Rossum, who is adorable, and Natasha Lyonne. I don't know if anybody's been watching Poker Face, but she's the main character in Poker Face. And it is about the National Lampoon's co-founder Douglas Kenney, who tragically dies at a very, very young age. But the movie is very funny, especially at the beginning, and becomes very heartfelt near the end. And I was a little skeptical about it, but I really enjoyed it quite a bit. So if you're into movies like Caddyshack, Animal House, any of the National Lampoon type stuff, check out A Futile and Stupid Gesture on Netflix.
That's a good movie.
It's actually it was way better than I expected it to be, and really great performances out of people like Will Forte and Domhnall Gleeson and that kind of stuff. So, I would highly recommend it. Okay, one thing before we get to the tally, there's one thing I wanted to mention is that as a group, we feel like somebody has been kind of like spying on us, and that they have been like, maybe in a way we're social influencers. We are influencing common like culture, and so we're doing a couple of golf movies for this episode, and I don't know if anybody else noticed, but there was this thing on CBS called The Masters, and it was like this whole day of like golf like stuff, and I don't know if anybody else noticed that. I thought that was kind of coincidental that there was this quote unquote The Masters. I mean, have any of you guys ever heard of this before?
I've never heard of The Masters.
Never.
Never heard of her.
Yeah. I swear, the upper echelon of media and entertainment is drawing from our podcast, and is they are definitely basically stealing our material. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, just in case any of you have never heard of The Masters.
We're more famous than we know.
Yeah, I know. We're very, very,
We're
very
hip,
influential.
as the kids would say.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, that being said, let's get to the final results.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Happy Gilmore!
Yeah, it was pretty lopsided. I think maybe it's the kind of thing where Caddyshack maybe didn't age as well as we had anticipated. While it's classic, it's influential, it maybe is kind of like not aging well in this kind of modern culture. So yeah, Happy Gilmore takes the whole. So, any other last comments, gentlemen, before we leave? Any final thoughts?
Let's have some more obscure sports comedy movies. Why is there no curling comedy movie? Why is there no highlight comedy movie? Why is there no dressage comedy movie?
Basketball.
Dominoes.
Do another basketball. Domino's the pizza?
God.
Why is there no movie about the Noid?
No, I was referring to like the National Domino Tour. There's like a poker, how like there's the big huge poker tournament that travels around and ends up in Las Vegas. They have one for dominoes.
How?
The World Series of Dominoes. It's a thing.
The World Series of Dominoes. Oh my god.
Why is that not a movie?
Shit. We got to get into I hate the name of it. I think they ought to change it, but they call it cornhole. That sounds dirty to me too.
Bags.
Yeah, we got to get into bags.
Call it bags.
My studio for one of the 48s, we made a film called Horseshoe, and it's basically one of these stereotypical sports movies, but it's about horseshoes. Right.
And I'm sure there are competitive, maybe even professional. You know what else I saw? Professional leagues the other day is what's the now I'm not going to remember it. It's like tennis but with the
pickleball.
Pickleball. That's it. I couldn't remember pickleball. Yeah, I saw professional pickleball on ESPN the other day.
Oh,
professional.
It's big.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. It's huge.
The fastest growing sport in America.
It was kind of entertaining a little bit. Like some of these people would smash the ball Like it was a co-ed double, and they would just smash the ball back and forth. It was amazing. I was like, these people are truly pros at pickleball.
One of our original panelists is actually really into pickleball and has played with some top tier players.
Yeah.
Yep. Mark Johnson.
There's a tier to this.
Yeah.
So Kyle,
Well, yeah,
Yes.
I mean, you gotta work your way up to the pro level.
the International Domino Federation, their tagline is "We can domino."
Oh,
So
I think they need this. I think they need to go back to the drawing board.
Hey, yeah, that needs a little.
do you think
work,
they have a
right?
marketing budget? That's some dude who's good at dominoes.
Apparently not.
and
We can golf ball.
Bjorn Andreas
We can pickleball.
Wolst.
We can cornhole.
No,
Nope.
nope.
Okay, well, with that, we will leave you. We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on whatever podcasting service you use. It helps us reach new listeners. If you like us, tell your friends. If you hate us, tell your enemies or your family or whoever. I don't know. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. Join us in May as we match wits over a genius matchup of biopic masterpieces. The Imitation Game and The Theory of Everything. For Mike, Andrew, Kyle, Tom, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
I'm stupid, you're smart. I was wrong, you were right. You're the best, I'm the worst. You're very good looking, I'm not attractive.
All right. As long as you're willing to admit that.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.